Hello everyone, and welcome to today's episode where I'll be presenting to you the urban intervention of the Baraki Municipality. The presentation is divided into 5 sections towards the final urban planning, starting with a quick recap of the Colibri group reflection to better understand the transition of different interventions through different scales. The group's reflection with the aim of developing a global strategy to make Algiers a Mediterranean city and participate in the dynamics of metropolization of its territory, with the problematic revolving around assuring the city to become an eco-metropolis and aspiring it to an energetic and ecological transition, all while encouraging changes in behavior towards our environment. The reflection thus introduces different concepts, objectives, and strategies to turn it reality. The reflection consists of participating in the dynamics of metropolization of the Algiers territory by starting from a local and sustainable bioclimatic approach and developing an urban policy based on a participatory, profitable, and balanced process essential to install a sustainable economy as well as the quality of life. It is with this standpoint that we take part in a long-term strategy to ensure cost-effective solutions as well as the dynamic of an ecological metropolization. Our approach will be applied throughout the territory in order to homogenize it and relieve congestion in the city center. The goal is therefore to rebalance the territory by thinking of different vocations that boost the territorial economy. Each project developed by the students support the concepts introduced in a reflection that supports the realization of an urban and architectural project, having an impact on 2 different scales, the territorial and municipal, with the aim of airing and energizing the whole of the Algiers territory by the diversity of vocations of each project. Moving on from territory to municipal scale and choice of municipality, faced with a second problematic, which is ensuring connection between different municipalities at all scales with enhanced urban comfort to therefore enhance the entire territory, the logic behind the choice of Baraki, implemented with the aim of my research, which is Algiers resilience facing the COVID breakouts, identifies the university hospital census as a main factor across the territory to first identify the municipalities in need of necessary facilities, to later select a municipality which would act as a catalytic to serve the southern municipalities and connect them to the major regional destinations. The Baraki municipality is thus strategically positioned to grow as a catalytic hub in Algiers. Located at the crossroads of major existing and planned transportation infrastructure and surrounded by the main southern municipalities in need, and will thus be designated as an integrated node to support the regional growth and connection to regional destinations. Baraki City is envisioned to be Algiers' second metropolitan center connected to major regional destinations by rapid transit and an efficient road network designed to support walking and cycling. This reflection has been achieved through studies of the urban structure. Starting off with the infrastructure and accessibility, the main national roads are identified to trespass Baraki, depicting the strategic situation of the city, which contains multiple nodes and intersections of these roads, giving a wide accessibility through a wide range of access as well as the existing metro and bus lines. Baraki is also characterized by its urban vernacular being intertwined with Wed al-Harraj River, which, revered as the Mother River, extends all through the territory and has nurtured the city's history, culture, and economy for millennia, which allowed the city and Wed al-Harraj to forge a symbiotic relationship. As for the functionalities of the municipality, Baraki is already a dense mixed-use area with significant agricultural lands and natural zones which depicts 45% of its total surface. At its core sits the urban and municipal function areas from housing and large residential districts, outdated buildings and suburban communities depicting 30% of its surface. It also greatly characterized by various economic and industrial activities such as the refinery, power station, sanitation office, and special and touristic areas such as the Baraki Stadium depicting 80% of its total surface. The total leaves behind 9% as ambiguous areas. The functionality showcases that Baraki has always been an important transit point, a focal spot in the settlement throughout history as a result of its geographical features, starting from the Ottomans' reign. Under the rule of the French state, many foreign settlements arose in the 19th century, primarily because of its strategic location. The city's morphology and sociocultural identity has changed over time, depending on the population movement as well as the military and political processes. Baraki's urban form is typical of the region's ancient vernacular, with historic buildings straddling both sides of a canal and the bridges providing critical pedestrian links across. The local history and recent development on site have left multiple issues such as fragmented parcels, construction waste, and disturbed ecosystem. In addition, Baraki experiences severe urban heat weather effects, as well as environmental challenges brought about by rapid industrialization and urbanization. The city plan area has been organized into a number of distinct districts, each with its own emerging identity, function, and scale. Analyzing each of these sub-areas will help create a better, vibrant, and more urban downtown by defining and understanding each area through a smaller scale and framework. Starting with the Center District, which contains the intersection of the Wilaya road networks, it is heavily characterized by educational establishments and mosques, with a variety of multifunctional facilities, as well as residential districts, such as the Diyar Baraka, the ADL Implemented Departments, and Sigil House residential districts. For the parcel system and implementation logic, a regulator layout is identified, as well as a logic behind the parcel systematic division at the historic core of the Center District. An irregular layout is also identified as an unfounded division and system logic behind the historic urban extensions. And last, the latest urban extension showcased irregular shapes and layouts depicting the historic and implementation logic. The same characteristics were identified in the rest of the districts, except for each exceptional character depicted by its location and facilities, such as the accessibility to the river of Bentalha, an industrial and touristic character for Benghazi, to the wastewater treatment plants and Baraki Stadium, as well as agricultural lands. And for the rest of the districts, they are characterized by being rural extensions surrounded by agricultural lands with little to no connection to the previously mentioned communities. Concluding the analysis with the results and diagnostics, we have thus identified a large percentage of housing and buildings in a deteriorated state, lack of stormwater management system, density of buildings with same functionality and the same scale, infrastructure of new extension in disorder, and lack of connectivity between different communities and neglect of public parks. Which brings us to the problematics on how to ensure connection between the different detached areas of Baraki to create a homogeneous and sufficient community, how to revitalize Baraki and reconcile its various potentialities to strengthen its urban comfort and identity, and how do we implement it as a catalytic which performs on the scale of the entire territory of Algiers. Following the Colibri Group approach and inflection, objectives of the master plan of Baraki have been identified, such as biodiversity, ecosystem, densification, and autosufficiency, which act as the basis of the 5 main interventions of Baraki City Master Plan, designed to be a new model of transitway development through systematic organizational change, economic development, affordable housing, workforce development, and access to various services. These strategies and objectives were further developed into 3 sections, each according to a fitting field of intervention: the socio-economic field, the natural environment, and the urban environmental fields. The socio-economic field aims to boost the municipality's economy and consolidate the mechanical network, give Baraki more orientation and accessibility by exploiting the tourist aspects as financial source, linking the character of industrial areas to the economy of the municipality, and resume the flow of adjoining municipalities by dispersing the services of Baraki through a more pleasant flow of traffic. The natural environment aims to maintain the urban agricultural space, reanimate and reinforce the green structure by developing abandoned agricultural areas, sustainable environmental management, and ensure self-sufficient management of green areas. Finally, the urban environmental fields aim to assure connectivity between dispersed urban areas, preserve their identity, and strengthen links between the city, the river, and various economic and industrial characteristics, as well as improve the living environment condition by injecting new infrastructure with a long-term functionality, and the necessary and missing services and facilities. Introducing next the conceptual approaches and studies before the final layout of the master plan. First, the collaborated approach concept. The Colibri Group reflection was to work collaboratively across communities to realize the shared goals between student intervention at all scales to achieve synchronized connection between our intervention and benefits across all communities. This collaboration approach within the Baraki City Master Plan range deems the potential of the connection with Al Muhammadiyah municipality. Al Muhammadiyah is located at the level of the intersection of the axis of the bay with that of the river, which gives it this central position. Baraki is located south of Muhammadiyah and connected by Wad al-Harraj axis, which makes the two municipalities benefit from a significant potential following the possible various flagship projects they could host along this connection. The collaborated master plan will inject structuring episodes and a series of urban protagonists in a process that recombines inherited urban forms, innovative mobility, and enhanced landscapes. These collaborations deemed the importance of Wad al-Harraj starting from the Bay of Algiers and continuing to the south of the territory, trespassing multiple important nodes in both municipalities. Therefore, the collaborative vision is to create an interactive urban living environment with a rehabilitated river setting. The master plan sets a new benchmark for development in the territory, connecting between strategic poles and form an ecological green axis as structuring elements between the two municipalities. This green axis, introduced as the Eco Corridor, will establish connectivity between the city's various ecological zones, promote environmental ideals, urban ventilation spaces, and rehabilitate the city's ecosystems. The proposal is based on reconnecting unexploited green areas to the urban, historical, and environmental fabrics of the city, through a recreation program as a transversal axis. Speaking of the fabrics of the city, the next goal is to establish community hubs to encourage community connection and enhance level of social and community engagement. Residential spaces were chosen to catalyze them in becoming hubs for citizens in the face of dense development. The pattern of development will result in a connected proposal of public spaces that runs through the entire town as a circuit while solving connectivity problems. The vision for this new network mobility is for a finer-grained, connected framework that facilitates mobility and enhances the safety for all citizens, creating a vibrant, pedestrian-oriented downtown, which was the root of introducing the superblock concept, which carves out islands of car-free space by routing traffic around the multi-block combined with innovation of residential urban spaces. Vehicle traffic will only be permitted around the perimeter, leaving streets within the district only accessible by motor vehicle to residents, essential services, or deliveries. The interior component will have narrow car lanes and reduced speed for vehicles, and gives preference to pedestrians and cyclists. The motive was to reduce vehicular pollution and move towards sustainable mobility, to recover space for the community, improve biodiversity, and encourage social cohesion. Speaking of redefining the axis, in order to distance from the physical and visual barrier created by the high-speed rail line, this will carry the dynamic and fluid line of Baraki and contain bicycle routes, pavement, parking areas, and metro line, and will be converted from two-way transit to one-way transit. Moving on to Baraki's residual spaces, today this legacy remains in the form of distinctive colonial era buildings carried throughout the city's urban fabric. Baraki's connective tissue seeks to identify, analyze, and program visual spaces with the intent of counterbalancing top-down development and providing intervention that can influence broader neighborhood processes. These interventions will focus on creating urban natural habitats that emphasize stormwater mitigation and engage urban culture through the citizen participation, to ultimately conceive of a new residual infrastructure that enhances neighborhood identity and systematically promotes community and environmental health. Distinct and vibrant neighborhoods will be thus injected, including a dynamic and innovative multifunctional district such as the business sector, various parks, bus and metro stations that promotes biodiversity, hospital, renovated markets, and academic buildings, which will form the framework of the new Algiers Center. Each of these areas will have its own unique character that together will create a diverse, authentic, and interesting downtown of Baraki. As discussed before, a coordinated and collaborative process that involved the two municipalities, Baraki and Muhammadiyah, working collectively on the proposed station and river master plan at the same time was needed. The aim was to bring together the sides of the river to reconnect the communities along its long axis with holistic urban design along with recreational and cultural design elements. Moving on to the final phase, which is planning and layout of the interventions, which are composed of the river management, injection of green areas and urban agricultural parks, and interventions of the urban districts of Baraki, as well as the North Gate. Through my intervention, I wanted to give a new image to the city by consolidating its northern gates, taking into account the different urban aspects as well as the economic and social notions in order to ensure good urban functioning. The gateway is characterized by a main interest that trespasses industries, stations, and agencies, with a metro line in the work. To enhance the image of the city to the visitors, the intention is thus to relocate the interest far from the industrial character it is already integrated in to an open green site, accessible to the public, by integrating a new bus station with enhanced design and visitor-friendly facility program, which creates a variety of activities for the year-round enjoyment of residents and visitors to the district. The master plan optimizes development potential around transit nodes and provides for an enhanced network of pedestrian-oriented streets and destination public places. For the core district, a major transit hub will be located, building on the existing historical district, which is delimited by the east-west highway, the north gates, and the main wilaya networks. Beginning with a strategy for the adaptive reuse of the historic core, design outlined a conservation plan that maintained the ancient urban fabric, defining the underutilized edges to be transformed. The plan thus restructures and rehabilitates the main and secondary networks, penetrates into this once enclosed core, creating a more intimate urban experience and improving the walkability of Baraki city. Existing alleyways, narrow streets, and new streets were carefully aligned to respect the integrity of the old town by injecting the superblock concept to keep privacy to residential areas, where a limited access to cars will be integrated to support the pedestrian walkability. Aiming to fill the existing urban void and link together separate clusters of diverse activity and urban fabric, as well as limit the rapid industrialization and urbanization of agricultural lands, the plan transforms the traditionally underutilized natural lands and farms into a public agricultural park, brimming with programming and activity that is interwoven with the rich ecology and local production of Baraki. A tree-lined pedestrian path punctuated by plazas and amenity spaces serves as the district's cultural corridor and north-south connector, which will restore Baraki's ecological networks and improve the city's natural ventilation systems. Along the main road, the Baraka Plaza will be integrated, which hosts various open space programs, and the future metro station will be located at the extremity of the district to provide a new civic heart for the development. The plaza will be constantly activated by pedestrians traveling between the metro and the injected facilities. Multiple community facilities are located in each neighborhood to further encourage walkability, social interaction, and connectivity to the network. The same principle has been configured in the rest of the district by first relocating the potential underutilized areas and injecting a fitting program according to each characters and potential. For Tuwila Bilmarja, multiple eco-residential buildings has been injected to restructure the extension of residents in disorder, as well as a university center scale hospital, a market, and extended networks to the agricultural park to allow attraction for multiple visitors. With the metro station located as a strategic point, it will act as a node between the two districts, the core historic and Tuwila Bilmarja. This node is also applied on the South District, with the rainforest and the commercial building as a main attraction, allowing the walkability from the core district and Tuwila Bilmarja, as well as the Bint al-Had district. Located on its east, characterized by the accessibility to the Wad al-Harash waterfront and its delimitation by the highway on its south and Wilaya roadways. With high potential underused site located, main surrounding roads have been identified and rehabilitated, as well as the restructure of the Wilaya roads to a one-way transit road. The injected facilities and buildings have been given the functionality to support a cultural hub character of Bint al-Ha, as well as the thorough planning of the river park management to give an area of rest. Designed to serve both the citizens and various school students, it functions integrated with the reading gardens and recreational areas nearby. The presence of significant new educational buildings and river park will expand the Bint al-Ha district, creating a stronger campus identity and student energy at street level. Finally, for Benghazi district, it will act as touristic hub due to various potential characteristics such as the Baraki Stadium. Tourist attraction points are thus injected, such as workshops, outdoor exhibition halls, socio-cultural facilities, cinemas, etc., regarding the local users' needs as well. The river park, injected with the wetlands and the Wad al-Harash park, will make ecotourism possible by having natural areas with the qualified biodiversity. The resultant master plan is thus a series of distinct neighborhoods and mixed-use areas, each with its own emerging identity, function, and scale, including a dynamic and innovative sectors, which will form the framework of the new Algiers Center by creating a diverse, authentic, and interesting downtown, as well as various green parks, which will help restructure Baraki's ecological corridor, from user-friendly to passive integrated programs which will help mitigate floods, island heat, and self-sufficiency of green areas, as well as the river management, which joins the renewal of the riverfront with municipal needs to grow a green economy and improve the ecological health of the river. The park is expected to give greater cohesion and connectivity to recent projects in the area, with its injected maritime station, with a thoroughly planned annual program designed to serve the citizens, tourists, and the academic students, as well as the students from the Integrated Research Center in Bint al-Ha. Last, for the appendix, I will be mentioning the norms used for the structure of the roads and green networks, as well as the stormwater management system used for the functionality of the integrated layout. As illustrated, the Wilaya roads network will be converted from two-way to one-way traffic and injected with a bike lane to enhance the accessibility of local users, boost the pedestrian walkability, and use the car transit to allow for a more dynamic and functional streetscape and boost the local commercial economy. The rest of the space gained from this transformation will be used as a buffer space to inject pedestrian-friendly program and landscape. A thorough study of the bike transit planning has been studied to choose the safest configuration of bike lanes, which is in this case the way curb-separated lane. Green networks has also been injected following the width norm and system of stormwater management, as well as the used materials, from hardscape surfaces used as pavement for buffers, retail parks, and various facilities, to soft surface draining used for streetscapes, rain gardens, and ponds, which, both integrated, will both help collect the rainwater fluids and such to be used in the long term and allow for the self-sufficiency of various landscape and green areas. One of the most significant features of Baraki is the generous landscape surrounding its historic course, viewing the large setback requirement as an opportunity to challenge the typical approach to the city's ubiquitous buffer landscape condition by rethinking it as a central feature of the development. An illustration based on the picture taking in Bint al-Ha will showcase the design injected, with transformed road widths, injected buffers, and various programs. The ubiquitous spaces will be transformed to public parks parks and rain gardens. And the gained space from the road's transformation will be used for bike lanes and pedestrian buffers, which will be used as landscape and pedestrian furniture zones, such as storefronts and cafes, whereas both will have a stormwater configuration collecting and reusing the water. Buffers will contain permeable pavers and surface draining through the injected landscape, and the parks will have an automated water receiving landscape. The collected water will flow through injected collector pipes to be reused by various landscape and programs or flow directly to the river. Such design and the rain gardens have been injected all throughout the Baraki city, as a series of green blocks that connect various nodes of the neighborhood, provide a gathering area, and recycle the biomass. This ecological regeneration will raise the awareness of the importance of the landscape to Baraki's renewed identity and the entire city of Algiers, a true aspect of sustainability in the face of our specialized academic option. Thank you all for your attention.